Amy Twist here. This is my first Atomic team meeting to be leading, and I am so excited because we have a major powerhouse here to talk with us today, Elizabeth Riley, who I'm sure many of you know or have perhaps met over the years. I asked her to come on and talk about her 10-10-10 moment with her being at EXP for 10 years. She's been an icon agent all of those 10 years, and she has 10,000 agents in her organization. Elizabeth, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I always love meeting our EXP family, so this is fun.
Yeah, we're so excited. I was hoping you could maybe start us off with telling us a little bit more about your story and your background.
Sure. Okay, so I have been in the business. It'll be 20 years in May of this year. I got started in Atlanta, Georgia. First of all, I'm Elizabeth Riley. I have the Lux Property Group in Austin, Texas, if I haven't met y'all yet. I got my license in Atlanta, Georgia, because I don't know if you're like me, but when somebody tells you you have to do something and you have no interest, it's like you go kicking and screaming. That was my real estate journey. My husband and I were investors, and my CPA at the time said, one of you needs to get your license. And my husband worked corporate. He was with Dell Computer. He actually was with them for 25 years. And I was working for a famous tennis player named Stan Smith. And we were doing really cool events like I was actually about to leave for Greece for the Olympics. And I said, I'm not doing real estate. I'm going to Greece. And he said, well, no, I have the full-time job and I have the benefits. So you're getting your license. So I went kicking and screaming. I was in a couples Bible study. There were 5 couples. 4 of the men were all real estate agents for different brokerages. And I said, hey, this is what I need to do. I know nothing about, I know nothing about real estate. As far as brokerages go, who should I talk to? And so I talked to all their companies. I went to Keller Williams because at the time they were the only one that would let me be part-time. And so the market center maybe had 100 people at the time. And I just really loved the people that I met. And if I'm being completely transparent, my business wasn't really a business at that time. It was a hobby, right? I was doing the bare minimum. I was working with people that knew me. I was let's go look at a property, all that stuff. So became a producer there in 2008. Any of y'all in the business in 2008? Yeah. Okay, good. So we know that was a little painful. We were transferred to Austin, Texas, and my husband was transferred with his corporate job. And so my first child was 18 months at the time. And I said, well, I'm just going to get my license there. And anytime, it was funny because people I would talk to, they would look at me like I had 3 heads. Wait, don't you know what the real estate market's doing? Like, it's a horrible time to get your real estate license. And for me, in situations like that, I always look at opportunity. If everybody has their head in the sand and the sky is falling, well, people are still going to buy and sell, right? That's an opportunity for me. And I actually came from a worst real estate market in Atlanta. It burst. So Austin was a better real estate. So I think it's all perspective. And so I literally, with my 18-month-old, we knocked on 14 doors. It was a townhouse community we lived in. I knocked on 14 doors, not to ask for business, but to earn the relationship, which is my whole strategy in business and also attraction. I want to work with people that want to work with me. I want to attract them into my world and build that relationship, because if you build the relationship, you're going to build the business. And so I knocked on the doors of 44 homes, and those were my first sphere here in Austin. And then in 2014, I was at the Keller Williams Market Center Northwest, and we had 650 agents. And that year I was number 1. And I came home and my husband was like, oh my gosh, let's go celebrate. Let's do all these things. And I said, I'm not interested in celebrating. I'm getting out of the business. And he said, why would you say that? You're on top. You've made it. Like, look at how hard you've worked. And if you guys have been at Keller Williams, you know God family business. And for me, that's very important. At the time, I had 4 children, and my husband was traveling internationally all the time. So he wasn't really here. And it was all business. And God and family were down here, and something had to change. And so he said, start your own brokerage. I said, absolutely not. That's the last thing I want to do. I'd be working harder. That's not me working smarter. And he said, well, go to another company. I said, it's all lateral moves. Like, everything is going to be the same. What would be different? What was different was my relationships in Georgia had all gone to a small company called eXp Realty. And they said, hey, we could all work together. we could be back in production together. You are licensed in 2 states. And they said, well, you meet with somebody. And it's like anybody in your life. If there's somebody in your life and they say, will you meet with somebody? You don't even ask questions, right? Sure, I'll meet with anybody. And so they asked me to meet with somebody, and that was Glenn Sanford. And he came into Austin to meet with me. People laugh and they're like, oh my gosh, Glenn came to meet with you. I was like, time out. His company, his whole company had 400 agents. My market center had 650 agents. Very different conversations at the time. And so I met with Glenn. I liked Glenn. I believed Glenn. I loved his story. I loved that he was solving for a problem that he had as a real estate agent. Glenn was a big real estate agent, had teams. He was trying to solve for a problem, and that's where EXP came from. And I just wanted to get back to the basics. And so I said, I love this. I brought in some people that I was talking to that I said, is this something you'd be interested in? There were a number of us that were ready to make the jump. I will make the jump, but I don't want people to make a decision that's going to risk something on their end, because all of us are different. And so I truly believe in seeking wise counsel. I went to my team leader in Georgia. He told me I was crazy. Don't do this. Don't make this move. I said, okay, great. And I went to my team leader here in Texas. And he said, this could be interesting. Let's poke holes in it, tear it apart. And he was helping me ask the questions I didn't know, because I'd only been at one company for 10 years. And in 5 months after exploring, he said, you know what? I'm bored. I'm uninspired. Let's do this together. And that was Gene Frederick. So everybody's always like, oh my gosh, you approached Gene. Gene was my team leader. I had worked with him for many, many years. I had earned a relationship. I had earned the respect because I was his top producer. And he knew who I was at the core of my core. And so I never approached Gene to recruit him. That was never my intention. It was truly to seek his counsel. And it was really fun. It was a fun journey to kind of build this together. So I'm Agent 466. I came to the company because I had 10 baseball caps at Keller Williams that said capper, and those don't really pay the bills. And Glenn was talking about stock and the Icon program. And I said, well, I like that. And Stefan Swanepoel, who's the trends expert, said, what if, he said, this is the company to look at. They're the Amazon.com of real estate. And I thought, well, what if I'd known about Amazon when they were trying to sell books online? I think we would have all made different decisions back then. That could be really cool. And then what's the worst that could happen? If it doesn't work, all these other brokerages need me more than I need them. They need the top producers. If it doesn't work out, I can always go somewhere else or start my own brokerage. So for me, the risk was staying where I was and being bored and complacent and not growing. And so trying to do something new with people I respected seemed really exciting for me. And so Agent 466, I was the first Icon agent named, which was a big deal, getting that stock back and seeing what was possible for my family. Fast forward, I just hit my 10th Icon. I will hit 10 years at EXP in May. It has been life-changing. This company has allowed me to do so many things to bless others. I retired my husband from Dell Computer. That was amazing, not as a flex, but because my family was fractured. He didn't know my kids. Like, I needed our family unit to be together. I was able to pay off my parents' home. I'm able to do a whole bunch of things just because of one decision that was a better financial move, that was really supporting the agents at the core and figuring out how we could all support whatever goals we have, not only in business, but also personally. So best decision, most exciting 10 years of my life. And so that's a little bit, sorry, that was a little longer than I think you intended, but that's a little bit of who I am.
Wow. I mean, that's so inspirational. I think not just to me, but I'm sure to almost everybody, if not everybody on this call. It's pretty interesting that you've been with EXP coming on 10 years. You've iconed every single year, which is unheard of. What are like 3 things that you do to continue that consistent high level of business?
Well, consistency is the number one key. I think a lot of agents chase shiny objects, and we're like comparing ourselves to other people. Don't compare yourself. Comparison kills joy, right? I can look at some of you on this screen that I know, and I'm like, oh my gosh, the way you do your business, and then it takes away from what I'm doing that's authentic to me. So figure out who you are and what kind of agent you want to be, and be that best agent. For me, my business is 100% referral. I'm still in production, obviously. People ask me all the time, why? Well, I'm a real estate agent. We're a real estate company. And quite frankly, that's my attraction, because I can relate. I can have conversations with people because I'm very much in the business. I'm not removed from it. And so the first thing I would say is be consistent in whatever that looks like. I market to my sphere every single month, whether it was my past client or not. It's just people that I've met. I'm very passive in my marketing and my approach. I'm more of an introvert than people realize. I will not call people. I will not knock on doors. I won't do things that make me uncomfortable when people do them to me. Does that make sense? Like, and that could be me being just, I don't want to say lazy, but I'm going to treat others like I want to be treated. And if you cold call me, you're going to lose me. If you knock on my door, you're going to lose me. I want to build that relationship. So consistency is key. I market to my sphere every single month. I send them something in the mail every single month, and I have for years, even if I never hear from them. And it's not real estate related. I'm usually doing something that makes me just more relatable. So they're like, oh, my friend Elizabeth's in real estate. Because other agents are just sending stuff that they get lost in the shuffle. I'm sending things that set me apart. So when somebody mentions real estate, oh, you need to call my friend Elizabeth. She's one of the top agents, right? Consistency is key. Community is a big deal. Plugging in and showing up. I am a big community builder. I think that's why I've been successful on the attraction piece. I truly want to help every single person I can. But if you're not in the right rooms, create the room. We didn't have the community here. I had to help build it. And so we were creating events and creating opportunities for us to get together. And so if you're not that person, find the people that are, and then be consistent there as well. And then just, I don't know. The EXP tools are so much different than what I had at my fingertips before. I would say plug into that. Like luxury has been a game changer. I got a call today that I'm getting a referral from another luxury agent from around the country. That's a $3.9 million deal. That makes business so much easier when you're building those relationships, but you have the resources like we do at EXP Luxury. So if you're not plugged into all the resources we have, pick and choose what tools make the most sense for your business at this time and then implement them.
I love that. I'm also a member of Luxury, and I've had 2 different people reach out over this last week purely because of being with EXP.
Yeah.
Which I didn't have when I was an independent broker. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So you brought up community, and switching gears a little bit to the attraction side of the business.
Okay.
When I heard you speak at EXPCon, you talked about AHA groups or AHA.
Yeah.
Club.
AHA Club.
Can you tell everybody a little bit about that? Because I thought that was awesome.
Yeah. It's funny when you have an idea and you just think it's some silly little idea, and then other people pick it up and run with it too. So AHA Club is agents helping agents. And it actually started earlier in EXP before COVID, actually. A lot of people were doing lunch and learns, right? And for some people that might work great. That does not work for me. If you put me in a room and you say, let's have some lunch and let's have some learning, and then you kind of close the door and it's like a timeshare EXP, I call it EXPing on people. Okay. Like that, you have lost me. So AHA Club was kind of my answer to that in my way. We all want to get together. We all want to be productive. We all want to build community, but let's build that relationship. And then it's going to create curiosity and create questions. And then I can have that conversation about EXP. Because if I got on here and you guys say, tell me about EXP, I'm not going to have the impact that I could on a smaller scale. Every single person on here has a different goal. Glenn Sanford started talking to me about RevShare. I was not interested in RevShare. I actually told Glenn, I am not interested in RevShare. I'm not going to recruit anybody. Right. Fortunately, like I've changed my tune on that because I can do it in my own way. But if you start talking to people and it doesn't relate to what their needs are, then you're going to miss an opportunity. So we created AHA Clubs, agents helping agents. They're in person once a month consistently. Right. I actually have one tomorrow, and we just come together and we collaborate. And every single month I have a different topic. I only put EXP agents on the stage. Usually icon agents because they get points, and we talk production. I don't even say I'm with EXP. I'm Elizabeth Riley, Lex Property Group. We're so excited to have you here. Let's talk about our panel, and it'll be a panel on loving on your clients, or a rookie panel, or how to get to top producer. Tomorrow we have 3 experts doing short-term rentals in 3 very, very different ways because all the short-term rental topics and rules in Austin just changed. So we're like, well, instead of guessing, let's bring 3 experts in, but they're all EXP agents. And so we started doing that on a consistent basis. And what's happened, it turned into an attraction opportunity because now other people are saying, can I bring my friends? Can I bring my agents from other brokerages? Absolutely. And those agents are saying, hold on, you guys do this all the time? This is how you operate? Yes. Why? Well, because we all own the company. And when you own something, you treat it differently. We open up our playbooks. We're collaborative. We're not competitive. And that has been a huge game changer for us because they're like, we want more of this. We want to be a part of that. So AHA clubs are every single month. I have it at the board of realtors. You can have it at a restaurant. It doesn't matter. There's a whole, if you guys are interested in this, I have a group in workplace called AHA Club Organizers, I believe. Just join that club. We do a mastermind on Zoom once a month. What's working, what doesn't work. I've got videos in there. I've got topics in there. I've got everything you need there. But if you're interested and reach out, I love talking about it. But we'll have anywhere from 50 to 100 people on a monthly basis showing up for that.
Wow. I know. I think that's a bit of a misconception, or at least when I came over to EXP with it being cloud-based, you wouldn't have expected the level of collaboration that there actually is, whether it's on things like this, or there's just so many opportunities for in-person events like what you're doing, Elizabeth. And I think that's really awesome. I think we need that.
There's so many things you can do with that. People create their own narratives about EXP. And they're false narratives, right? And so if I can show somebody who we are, it's so much more impactful than if I'm trying to tell them. Mm-hmm. And so I do all sorts of, we do AHAs, but I also do Fearlessly Authentic Women in Real Estate. We go to a coffee shop once a month. There's a coffee shop that has a little space that I can reserve for $25. And we all go and we invite all of our friends that are women, and it doesn't have to be just women, but whatever you want to do, women, and we are all in different brokerages. And we don't talk about real estate. We talk about being a mom, being a wife, being a business leader, being all these other things. And that's an attraction piece too. So think of community builders that you could do that can serve the purpose of sharing production and collaborating, but also as an attraction piece. And that's how I've built my organization. I have, to give you guys some numbers, I have 70 people on my front line. Only 70 people. And I don't ever use the word just or only, but I'm using it intentionally here because I want you guys to understand what that means. I've been here 10 years. If I was a team leader or if I was a brokerage or I was a recruiter, I would have been fired because those numbers are horrible. That's what, 7 people a year, right? Most of my front line, though, are cappers and icons. What's happened there is people see our businesses grow and build, and they're like, oh my gosh, and they tell a friend and they tell a friend. So Gene is one element of my organization, and he's a big element of my organization, but I've got some incredible, powerful growth leaders that are also in my organization that are also in production. And so then that's cascaded out to over, I've got like 10,500 at this point. But like Terrence Murphy, if you guys have seen him, he's incredible. He's one of my frontline partners. He and I were friends for 4 years, talking about EXP for 4 years. And he said, I don't want to talk about EXP. I just want you to know, I was like, your friendship's more important to me. Mm-hmm. But Terrence Murphy had an independent. He did $1.6 billion in College Station, Texas, which is a little Texas town, little college town, as an independent with 30 agents. And he was trying to expand. I said, we've got your solution. Mm-hmm. He's like, what do you mean? I said, you're trying to expand. You can't even get out of College Station to Houston, which is 3 hours away. I've got your solution. He goes, there's no way. Compass doesn't. I'm talking to Gary Keller one-on-one. He doesn't. I was like, but they operate different. You don't understand how we are. Are you open to a conversation? Took me 4 years. Terrence came over, partnered with me. He's got 500 partners around the globe now, and we're in Dubai. And he's got more freedom, time freedom, financial freedom, emotional freedom, and having so much fun. So I have some huge growth leaders just from the productions piece, just from the collaborative standpoint, that when you're thinking about attraction, you don't have to think about getting one big whale. Think about the people you want to have proximity to, and how you can help make their lives richer. And then because of that, it cascades out and other people want to be a part of it.
So Elizabeth, you've been in the business a long time and you've seen a lot of the different market shifts, which you've touched on earlier in the conversation. What do you think agents need to focus on now to help them succeed over this next 5 years?
I think they need to ignore the noise. And what I mean by that is markets are always going to change. If you figure out who you are and you get your systems, I'm not a systems and processes person. So when I say this, don't think I'm all structured. I'm not at all, which is why I have to surround my people with that are. But get your systems in place. You want to know what my marketing strategy, my marketing plan is every year? I take a white piece of paper And I write January through December, and I put 3 lines by each. I'm like, okay, for January, I'm going to do a $500 gift voucher. For February, I'm going to do, I love my clients. What am I like? Literally, that's my process. So figure out what your process is and figure out what works. Don't look at all these big fancy things and go, oh my gosh, I can't do that, because you will not do anything, right? It's progress, not perfection. So I would just say, figure out what kind of agent you want to be. Make a list of all your people. Make sure you have your database in order. I don't care what database or CRM you use. The best one to use is what you use. I used Excel for years. Okay. So just use something and get in conversations, have more conversations, get in relationships with people. Make sure they know you're not a secret agent. Make sure they know you're an agent, right? Mm-hmm. And get into conversation, because people are always going to buy and sell. It does not matter what the market does. A lot of people are going to get out of the business, and then you're going to be the one they're standing, and you're going to be the one that they see consistently, and they're going to want to do business with you. And if you're a newer agent, shadow the other agents, right? See what you can do to get into the rooms with them. What are you guys doing? How can I learn from you? Can I shadow you on a listing? Can I shadow you on an open house? Knock on wood. I have a lot of agents that ask me, I've never done an open house in my life in 20 years. I never will. I don't want to talk to people. Please don't come talk to me, kind of a thing, right? But shadow people. If you have a luxury listing, co-list it with somebody. Use everybody as a partner. So many people come to me and they're like, well, we don't want to bug you. You're not bothering me. We're all partners. If you win, I win. Well, I'm not in your organization. I don't know who's in my organization. I don't care who's in my organization. We're all one EXP. So just figure that out and plug into the groups. We have Family Tree. You guys have this amazing group. So if you're an agent, don't let the outside influences impact what you're doing right now, because you can only control that. You can't control what already happened, and you can't control what's going to happen in the future. You can't control rates. You can't control inventory. You can just control what you're doing, your conversations, your schedule, your calendar, time blocking, and go from there. I had to do it. Deanne says, if I'm not a top producer, how do I get others to join me at EXP? You're partnered with all of us, and you don't always have to be a top producer. Top producers sometimes can be a little intimidating, right? Not relatable. If somebody looks at me and pulls me in on a conversation, they're like, you've done how much volume and you've done all these things. Like they get intimidated. They shouldn't. I'm harmless. But bring in the people that can speak their language. Bring in third-party validation calls. I'm on 10 to 12 third-party validation calls a week, right? Use the relationships that you have and the partnerships you have, because again, if you win, we all win. We're all EXP. We're all shareholders in the company. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So one more question, and then I want to open it up to everybody to ask questions for you. If there is an agent on here that's feeling stuck, what do you recommend?
Well, that's a loaded question, actually. It depends on what they're feeling stuck on.
Let's say they're just feeling like their business is not growing and they're a little stale. It's been a tough couple of years for a lot of people. What would you suggest?
Well, first of all, they're not alone, right? Mm-hmm. Last year was the worst real estate market in 35 years. So everybody's a little stuck. What most of us are very good at is playing like we're not stuck and everything's great. It's like social media. 90% of it's BS. Mm-hmm. So what I would do is don't stay silent. Get into the meetings, get into the calls, get in the group. Like Family Tree. The reason I talk about Family Tree a lot is, and if you guys don't know what that is, that's 4 of us that have large organizations years ago that would always mastermind with each other. Because what was happening is, well, if I'm not in this group, I'm not in that group and I can't get in that group or whatever. And we're like, your upline doesn't matter. Your downline doesn't matter. If you're, a new producer or a top producer, it doesn't matter. So 4 of us brought our islands together and created Family Tree, where everybody's invited. And so all of our training and our coaching is usually directed there. I don't just do stuff only for my group, right? I mean, I think there's a lost opportunity there, but we're doing Hive calls every Wednesday. So I would say get in a Family Tree, get into different groups and masterminds, and see if you can learn around the people around, learn around the people around you, and ask questions, ask a lot of questions. That's the only way to get unstuck. If you're not verbalizing the challenges, you're not going to be able to get a solution.
Thank you. All right. Wow. That was so great, Elizabeth. I'm sure that there's a lot of people that would like to ask you some questions. We'll open it up.
Okay. So Elizabeth, just again, thank you for taking your time to come here and share this with us. So my question is, like for me, for example, I can't speak for anybody else, but I feel like you are at like the height of real estate of where somebody would want to be, 10,000 plus in your organization, 10 times icon agent. Like, what is next for you? Or what does the next 5 years look like? And what does that feel like? Was that always your goal to be that, to become that person? If you could share a little bit. I know there's a lot of questions in there, so just pick out what you can.
Yeah. It's interesting because I just went through something last weekend called Amplify. It's Renee Rodriguez. It was a small mastermind. And because this year I'm really wanting to focus on personal growth, I'm really good at pouring into everybody else. And what I was realizing is I'm not feeding my soul as well. But I love, love, love to give. That's just my heart. So I didn't really know who I wanted to be. And if I'm being fair, I kind of lost my identity. I've been pulled in a bunch of different directions and people pouring into me saying, hey, we want you to speak, want you to speak. And so I started speaking on stages, which y'all, I get scared and uncomfortable every single time because I'm like, what am I going to say that's impactful? And I get in my head, but I went through Amplify last week and it was really eye-opening. And so for the first time, I think I'm a little clearer. Like I want to make an impact because what I really believe is when it's not about income, it's about impact. And that's really what I want to live, my truth. And then I'm like, well, what does that look like? And so for the next 5 years, I have a self-organized team because I'm all referral based. I still have a lot of business that comes in, but the transactions don't really drive me anymore. But I can have Meredith and Leanne run those transactions, which is what they want to do, which frees me up to do what I want to do. So I want to be in more of the group settings. I love the events. I love the small events. I'm enjoying speaking on the stages, I think, right? I mean, I'm uncomfortable. You have to be uncomfortable for the growth. So I think more of that because I don't know. I never expected I'd be where I am. And I never really realized I am where I am. And I don't really think I'm that special. Like I'm just doing one foot in front of the other. And I don't know if that answers your question, but I don't have a big plan. I don't set it out 5 years. I'm not a 3-5 year kind of person. I'm kind of like, well, I say I take 1 hour at a time, which right now I am because I'm doing so many things. But I think being more involved on a national scale, how can I help you guys grow? That's where I'm having fun because EXP is life changing. There are so many stories across the globe, and I want more people to know about that. And so I'm not really attracting from my front line anymore. I'm just pouring in and trying to help people attract for theirs. And that's where I think I want to be the next 5 years.
Gotcha.
Love
Okay.
it.
And it does answer the question. So thank you.
Good, 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 good.
Okay, so 1 second,
sorry.
Dawn and Jessica, we're going to answer a couple questions from the chat. What is a failure that you've had, Elizabeth, in the past that you grew the most from?
Oh gosh, I fail daily. And when I speak, I everybody sees the success and it's really, that's not what's important. I think it's the failures behind the scenes and what I, learned from those. And that's where the lessons are. My failures have really been thinking too small and getting in my way and getting in my head and feeling like I wasn't enough. And that's something I've had to work on. And a lot of people didn't know that, but I had to work on that going, wait, I'm just showing up. And I always say comparison kills joy, but it was kind of a reminder to myself because I found myself starting to compare myself to others. So I've got 4 kids that I'm always telling them social media, but it's a trap. And so I'm like, okay, I had to get back to who I was, take a step back and figure out what grounds me. I got really involved with doing so many things that I forgot to really be present with my family. So that's something that I pulled back for this year. And I fail daily. So we could sit here for hours and I could just, rattle off all my failures. So definitely more failures than not.
That's like a true entrepreneur.
Right?
Okay,
How boring would it be if you're like, yeah, that would be boring.
So another person's asking where we can find your links. So I guess if someone wanted to reach out for some of the stuff that you've been talking about today, workplace maybe, or joining your
workplaces. So Instagram, my Instagram's it's Elizabeth Riley, and my kids make fun of me all the time, but that's okay. If any of you have teenagers, please tell me how to survive them. It's Elizabeth Riley is my Instagram. Workplace chat is always a great place to get me. I try to respond to all of those. I get bombarded. However, if Glenn Sanford and Leo Pareja can answer all of theirs, then I certainly can. So I try to make sure I respond there. Family Tree is another place to get me, but more direct would be Instagram or workplace chat.
Okay. All right, Don, we're going to go to you next.
Yeah. So Elizabeth, you mentioned in the early days when you met Glenn, you instantly took a liking to him. I'm kind of curious, you've been involved with EXP almost twice as long as me. And in the time I've been here, I just see them so consistently making decisions that are to our benefit as the agent or builders in the company. But has that always been the case? I mean, what has been your experience with their kind of guiding principles around decision making?
I love that. Yeah, always has been the case, because when I sat down with Glenn, I asked him, why EXP? And I didn't understand it, y'all. I mean, he took me into a Regis. I mean, it's so Glenn. And we got on the world. And in, what is this, 2014, when we're looking at the world, and he took me into an executive board meeting. I was like, what is this? Right. I totally didn't get any of that stuff. But when I said, okay, this isn't making much sense. Tell me why. Tell me kind of what's your goal? He's like, because I was a team leader. I had agents and I was letting them down, and I had to figure out a solution. And so I said, so what's the goal? He said, I want to make this the best company for the agents where nobody ever wants to leave. And it's supporting their family, their business goals. I want to have stock. I want them to have ownership, because in the industry, the agents have always done all the production, but they don't get the reward. I mean, he was very clear. He said, I don't want us to do anything that's going to negatively impact the agents. I mean, case in point, I've been here 10 years. He's never changed the fees. He's never changed the splits. And I've been in meetings before where they'll have the top influencers, and there have been meetings where some of them will say, hey, we can just raise the splits or the fees $5. Think about what $5 per agent per month would. I mean, it's millions of dollars that would keep coming in. And he took I never saw him grab a microphone so fast. He's like, no, I've always made the commitment. I'm not going to do anything that negatively impacts the agent. So figure out another solution, and then enter Leo Pareja with all the partners and the solutions and everything else. So he's always been that way. And I think when you have a leader, especially with an entrepreneurial mindset like he does, and what he's done and how far he is now, I've asked him, Glenn, you've made it, right? Why aren't you sailing off into the sunset? And he goes, what would I do? I'm a creative. I've made a commitment to the agents. I've made a commitment to the industry. Warren Buffett still works. What would I do? And so when you have a leader like that, that's why it makes EXP so different from these other companies, whether they were already here or they're, copycat companies, or they're, trying to do something similar in the new, because we really created the foundation of changing the industry. You don't have a Glenn, right? You don't have a Leo. Most of our leadership is past real estate. They all have real estate experience. These other companies don't. So Glenn has always been that way. And I watch people and I take them for their word, and audio matches video, if that makes sense. And he's always said that. And I don't think he'll ever change, which is great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Jessica, you're up.
Okay, thank you. Hey, Elizabeth, it's Jessica Carquana. I just joined on Friday to EXP, so I'm super excited.
Welcome.
Yeah. I wanted to hear, I loved how you kind of talked about being different on purpose, which I think is important to stand out. So I was wondering if you could give a little more examples of, you said you reached out to your database in ways that were not real estate monthly. Do you also reach out in real estate ways? Like, I'm wondering how you kind of balance that, because you don't want to be a secret agent, but also you want to be relatable and create the relationship and be interesting and stand out. So I'm wondering if you can give some ideas on how to do that.
Yeah. So I have 4 kiddos, and my whole business has really been built, especially here. I had mom guilt, right? I was trying to build my business and then my kids. And so I just brought them together. And so I was really involved in the schools and the PTA and all these things. What I didn't want to happen is people to say, oh my gosh, there's Tripp's mom, run. She's going to talk about real estate, right? But I did want all of them to know what I did. So I would sponsor a lot of things. I'd sponsor Little League teams, which my name would go on the back of all the shirts, which was awesome because it was on the field, but also, getting burgers or to school or whatever. So my name was out there all the time. I'm really involved in the community. So I would sponsor nonprofits. I would sponsor like little like Girl Scouts. This is one of the most expensive ones I do, but it's one of the most impactful ones. Girl Scouts, my girls they weren't Girl Scouts, but they had Girl Scouts at their school. So I would go to the Girl Scout leaders and say, I need a list of your Girl Scouts in the school. And they're like, why? Well, I'm a real estate agent and I'm going to buy cookies for all of my clients. And I want to support our Girl Scouts. And they're like, that's awesome. So then I went to all the moms. Hi, I want to buy a case of cookies from your girls. First of all, they're like, why do you want a case? I was like, well, I'm a real estate agent and I'm going to give this to my clients or whatever. And then they love you anyway, because then that's 12 more that they don't have to sell on the corner. And then I would put little cards or note cards or business cards or whatever. We would put them on all the doors of my clients, my sphere. My kids would do it. We'd have a contest. Okay, Trip, your turn. Okay, Levi, see if you can beat his, right? So I'm not doing the mom guilt thing. I've got my kids involved. I would get stickers and say, thanks for all you do in our schools. And I would give it to 80 people, all the janitors and the people at the school. I'd put it all in there, not an ask. I'm always just trying to serve. How can I serve? How can I serve? I want to be the mayor of my community. So the Girl Scout cookies is a huge thing I do. Sponsoring all the shirts and the teams around the town is something I do. When COVID hit, one of the things we did that was a big hit is on Canva. We did are the four walls, because we're all COVID, right? And moms, I'm thinking as a mom, are the four walls giving you the squeeze, because it was all decorated lemons. Let the Lux Property Group help you make lemonade out of lemons. And then we got the little lemonade packets and put them in there and sent them all out. So it was things that it was like, okay, we're tying the real estate sort of, but we're being more mom and more human than, hey, I just sold this, or I just listened. Nobody cares. Nobody cares what you've done. I never really talked about real estate, but every single January, I will write a letter like to a friend and I'll say, because of your relationship, like this is what we're doing as a family. And then somewhere in the middle, because of your referrals, I've been able to be the top 50, blah, 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 blah. What are my accomplishments? Thank you so much for supporting my business. If I didn't have an opportunity to work with you last year, I look forward to working with you or your referrals in the future. They all know that I'm a friend as opposed to just somebody trying to sell them something with commission breath. The other thing I've done is I'll send out a little, I don't even know where one is right now, but on Canva, business card size, it says $500 gift voucher. It can be $250, it can be $100, I don't care. To be used on your next purchase or sale, can be transferable to family and friends, compliments of Elizabeth Riley, Lux Property Group, brokered by eXp Realty. They hold on to that. You don't pay anything, then it's off of their settlement statement at closing. But I had a $2 million cash buyer a repeat client find it in her drawer when she was cleaning to move, was like, oh, hey, Elizabeth, can I use this? I'm like, you're buying a $2 million cash thing. I think I can rebate you $500, right? It's the value of it. But I do things like that instead of, and because I'm 100% referral, my stuff's everywhere. So if I did just sold, 30 minutes away they don't care. And I'm just wasting money. So I do a lot of things that incorporate being a mom, being real, I teach on this all the time. If you go into Family Tree, I have a marketing to your sphere video there. You can watch it. And I do kind of like all 12 months. December, I do a donation in a nonprofit's name. And I built a home in New Story. And I was like, hey, because of you, we're building a home together and creating, safety and security for a family in El Salvador. And then now what they get to do is during the whole year, I keep up with them and show them the journey of the house they're building. Things like that. That's what I'm doing.
That's awesome. And that answers our next question about if you're willing to share what you send to your clients. So it sounds like you need to go to Family Tree. And if you're not an EXP agent and you want to get it, reach out to whoever invited you to this meeting so they can get you that content. We have
I'm an open book. I share all sorts of stuff. So whatever you guys need is great.
Well, we have 2 minutes left. So I'm going to ask one other question that we had from the group, and then we'll wrap it up. And this is from Terica, who is in our organization and is a new agent out of Texas. Hi, Terica. And she's asking, if you could go back to the start of your career, what piece of advice would you give your younger self?
I would stop getting ready to get ready. I would make a list of everybody I know. I would send a handwritten note out to everybody I know. Don't put business cards in there. They don't care. hey, I'm so excited to let you know I just got my license. I just joined this brokerage. I'm just here, whatever. I'll keep you. I don't have any cards. I'll send some when I have some, but I just want to let you know what I'm doing. So keep me, whatever you want to say. It can be short and sweet. Handwritten means a lot, y'all. Don't rely on text and emails and all that stuff anymore. Do a video text if you want. And then I would start being consistent and start reaching out to them, and then follow up a week or two later. Hey, I had some business cards. I want to send them to you. I would make a list and be more consistent and know 12 months. What am I going to do each month? I did not do that. I think I wasted a lot of time just trying to figure it out, drinking from a fire hose. We all have been there before you, right? So just learn from what we've all done, but just write your list down, get your names together. Everybody you think of, your hairdresser, your dentist, I don't care. The other thing I did when I moved into this neighborhood and moved, because I had to start over as a brand new agent in 2 places, right? I moved into this neighborhood when we built our house, and my son was like, Mom, there's 3 sales for sale signs. Does that make you mad? I said, no, that's my fault. I'm a secret agent. They don't know who I am. So I created community in my neighborhood, create Front Porch Fridays, not as a sales real estate agent, but let's bring our community and our neighbors together and support each other. So create opportunities where you can meet more people and talk to people and get in a relationship with them. That's what I didn't do.
Awesome. Well, Elizabeth, thank you so much. I think we can all agree we got a ton of value today. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. And you guys heard her. Go find her on Instagram at the Elizabeth Riley. All right. Thank you.
It's Elizabeth Riley. Thank you guys for having me. It's always an honor, and I hope this was helpful. Reach out, but I'm excited to be partners with all of you. And so have an amazing week, and we'll come meet me face to face if we're ever at an event together, please.
Thank you.
And
Bye,
Tom,
guys.
you want to do our sign off that you always do?
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Elizabeth, Courtney. This was amazing. And so next week, we're all in Cabo. We'll see most of you in Cabo. So there's no Atomic Habits meeting next week, but we'll see you in 2 weeks. Y'all got your inspiration. Time to put in the perspiration. Thanks a lot. Have a great day. See ya.